Hi, I'm Dan from Dan Culpa Hobbies, and today I want to show you how my 1000 Sons won me one of these. So this is the board that I entered into the Games Workshop Armies on Parade competition that's held yearly in the Warhammer stores. As you can see, it's a 1000 Sons army with a whole horde of Tzeentch demons backing them up, both from Fantasy and 40k. And as of the time of recording, this is the most complete force I've ever done in 40k. There's some figures I didn't manage to squeeze onto the board, and there are still some in a box somewhere that need finishing off. As you can probably see, I tried to make these guys as colourful and as vibrant as possible, and that was to stand out as much as anything else. We all love the grim darkness of the 40k universe, but I was attracted to these forces because they're so colourful. They're like nothing else in the 40k world, and I think they really benefit from being painted like the kaleidoscopic horde of monsters that they're often shown to be in the lore. And that's what I'd advise if you're going to enter a competition like this. I know these guys aren't the best painted models in the world, but the fact is no one else brought models that look like these to the competition. The second thing that I'd recommend, if you're intending to enter a competition like this, is to either find a bit of lore that you love, or create your own, and then take a snapshot of that narrative, perhaps your favourite part of that story, and represent it in a visual way. The story I was trying to tell here is that perhaps Magnus and Ahriman have teamed up to summon some beast on a forgotten world somewhere. Perhaps there was a temple here, and when they began the ceremony, there was a massive explosion, causing a crater on the earth that in turn filled with this pink slime, cascading down from Magnus's floating islands. And then to tie that narrative together, I've created bases for all the models that tie into that narrative and feel like they're all part of the same story. As an example, here is a sacrificial space wolf on Magnus's base that ties in with one found at the opposite corner of the board down below. While planning this board, I also made sure to consider how these models would be laid out and how an audience would view them. At the highest point, these top islands on the board are the models that I'm most proud of and that I've spent the most time on. And then the crowd's eyes will hopefully slowly drift downwards towards the models that are more horde-like, but probably have paint jobs that I'm also not quite as proud of. The islands themselves can be removed. They're simply mounted on perspex rods, as you can see here, that slot into tubes that keep them stood rigid. This was both for ease of transport, but also so that I could store them easily after the competition. Now here's some of the models that I'm most proud of. This is a Gaunt Summoner. I can use him as a sorcerer, or quite often as a changeling, as I'm not a big fan of that model, and I think this sculpt is a bit more interesting. Here's an Occult Terminator from the 1000 Sons. I've actually done quite a lot of conversion on him. His arms are magnetised so that he can have different weapons. He's got a Chaos Sorcerer's leg, and I've given him a much more interesting cape. He's also the one figure that's not actually finished on the board. His base still needs some resin, and there's still a transfer that needs to be applied to his shoulder. Next we have the man Ahriman himself. He can see that I've actually put some skulls and stuff into the resin on his base. He's also magnetised so that he can go on foot if he wants, and I've created a separate base for that. Here's the big man himself, Magnus the Red. I'm not actually that happy with this paint job anymore. I've even bought some wings to replace these ones with. I am happy with this conversion I've done, however, where I took out the original Dreadnought piece that Magnus was stood on and replaced it with a Space Marine casualty. This one being a Space Wolf, obviously. And this is my Lord of Change. I've built him with pieces both from the Fate Weaver and the Lord of Change kit, but I'm really happy how the blends came out on these wings and how the highlights make them look really extra feathery. and also the added details on his book here. And this model I run as a Mauler Fiend in my army. It's actually a Mortarch from the Sigmar line. And again, he's magnetised so that I can take off that Thousand Sun Rider, put the standard Mortarch on, swap the base, and run him in an Age of Sigmar army. And this is what you receive if you win. A fairly large golden medal. And I think every participant got one of these badges, but I still wear it with pride on my work lanyard, as a reminder of actually one of my most proud moments in the wargaming hobby. So thanks for joining me today. If you've got any questions about anything I've shown you, do drop them in the comments. And if you'd like to see any tutorials about how to use resin, or the conversions that I've used in this army, please do subscribe, because I'm planning on doing a few videos on those subjects in the near future. Thanks for joining me as always, and I hope to see you next time on Dan Culpa Hobbies.